Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Jackie Marie of J Marie Booklet. So today I am making a video. It was requested, and the viewer wanted to know. They wanted me to expand more about my time when I worked in the mother baby unit. So I was never a full-time secretary in the mother baby. I would float there. Matter of fact, I think that was the very first place I ever floated to was Mother Baby as a secretary. First time I ever worked anywhere other than my unit. So these are just some things that I noticed from working there. So if you will be a secretary and you'll be working in Mother Baby, this is what you can kind of expect. So Mother Baby is basically the unit after a woman has a baby. So when she gets to the hospital, she goes to labor and delivery. That's where she has the baby. And then after she has the baby, she goes to mother baby unit. They may call it maternity unit, but it's a separate unit because you still have women coming in having babies. So they have to just clear those beds. You have the baby, they deliver it, and then they move you to another room. And so that's the mother baby, maybe called maternity. It just all depends on the unit. I'm sorry, on the hospital. So when you work in the mother baby unit, you have two patients. You will admit two patients. You will admit the mother, who is a patient, and you will admit the baby, who is a patient. Now, when the baby is born, so like when the woman goes to labor and delivery, she's the only patient there. And because I don't even, well, I don't know how it works in labor delivery. I've never worked down there. Only been down there once, and that was when my sister was pregnant. Um, when she was pregnant, and then she couldn't work. She had to be bedridden, basically. So I don't know how it works in labor and delivery if if labor and delivery only has one patient, and then when the baby is born, they're officially admitted on mother baby. I'm not sure if they're admitted in labor and delivery. All I know is when you admit the patient, you admit two patients on mother baby. So the babies are named because some people don't have names for they don't have names picked out because they just had a baby. They're not sure. Family, you gotta look at the baby, see what the baby look like, who they look like, all that good stuff. So babies don't have first names. So like when you admit them, you don't admit them with their first name. So it may be baby girl Hernandez or baby boy Smith. That's how they are. They're identified by their gender, male, female, boy or girl, and then their last name. If there are twins, I want to say, so if it's multiple births, I want to say it may be baby girl Smith 1, baby girl Smith 2. I want to say that's how it was. I don't really remember ever seeing twins be born. So I'm pretty sure that's how it's done because they go by if it's a boy or girl. So I assume it'll be 1 and 2. Um, The babies, you will do name alerts. So just like when you work on a regular floor, if you have two Smiths, two patients with the last name Smith, you will put a name alert on the chart so that people understand, everyone knows that when they grab that chart, to make sure you're grabbing the right Smith because you don't want to be the doctor, you don't want the doctor or anyone to be grabbing the wrong chart, putting paperwork in the wrong chart because they're putting it on the wrong Smith because you put it in the chart and nobody's really paying attention because you assume it's the right document. So like lab work, if it's Jane Smith and Joe Smith, and you put the paperwork in Joe Smith paperwork and James Smith chart, everyone assumes that it's correct, and then they make all kind of decisions, and that's how you get problems. So that's why you always want to put a name alert on the outside of a chart with people who have the same name or a similar name. So like a similar sounding name. And and you do that in the mother baby department also. So if you have two baby girl Hernandez, you will put that on there. And then when you discharge the patient, you discharge the mother and you discharge the baby. They're two separate people. So and I'm trying to think the charts. I'm trying to think back to the charts because I know because their department had their charts in like a little side room, and I would assume that there was another chart for the babies. I can't remember. I really can't remember. I would assume so because they did have a lot of charts back there. So I would assume it would be a chart for the mother and a chart for the baby. And then babies have on bands. So like they have on the wristband, like all patients in the hospital have a wristband on, but then babies also have on a another band that is connected to the alarm system. So anytime a baby goes past a certain point, and that is not because I want to say the way they had it set up was before a baby left the unit, they had to go in the room on a computer and hit something. So that was probably something the nurses did. Okay. And because the machine was at the nurse station, it was in that little room where the charts were. So I assume the nurses did it. I never saw anybody, I couldn't tell you what they did, but they had alarms at certain points, and if that alarm was not turned off, it will ring if the baby went to a certain point because that ain't supposed to be going off. Because if that goes off, that means a baby is leaving the unit, could be being kidnapped, things like that. So they had an alarm set up. So the baby has the the wristband like all patients do, and then they also have a band on them. And I don't know if it will be on their leg because, like I said, I ain't touched none of them babies. Okay, they were just too small. They too fresh. Okay, out the oven. I'm not a. I'm. I have. I don't really have maternal. I talked about this in another video about my maternal is like not there. Okay, it is not there. I think I made a video talking about working in the PICU. And yeah, I had no maternal, so I can't tell you where it was because I didn't touch no baby. I looked at them rolling past. I'm like, oh my god, that baby's so small. But yeah, they did have. I know they would have an alarm on them to prevent kidnapping, and they would take them off. Like so, when the mother and when the mother and the baby were being discharged, if they were being discharged together, because sometimes the mother's discharged and the baby's in NICU. So, the baby don't go home. But if they're being discharged, they'll turn it off so that the alarm wouldn't go off when the baby got too close to the door. And most units you have to be buzzed in. So like working oh, you know, to that little boy. He's on his if you hear that in the background, I think it's a neighbor. He's on his four wheeler. Um Most people have to be buzzed in a unit. So it's just like the ICU unit, you buzzing people in, just like labor and delivery, you buzzing people in. Visitors, they gotta be buzzed in. And they had cameras. Cause I don't know labor delivery had cameras. I don't ever really remember seeing a camera. But I know mother baby, they had cameras outside. So like but you know what's so goofy? Is that the camera face so when they would call, they will be at an angle because where the phone was. So like they can hide their face. I never understood nothing, but anyway, because the camera is over in the corner. If you walk up to the door, the camera's in the left corner, pointing towards the phone. But you could easily, like, I could barely see them people. And so that was my issue with that. I was like, I don't. I understand a woman just had a baby. I know people want to come see, but it was just like too many people. It was just like too. It was just like the ICU. I think the ICU was less stricter. Like it was more people to come to see the baby than somebody that's in ICU. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like somebody could have drowned and been in ICU, but it was more people coming to see the baby than somebody you know that drowned. And we trying to save their life. I don't know. It was just too much. But I don't know. It could have been also because the mother baby unit, to get to the PICU or the NICU, you had to come there. So that could have been it too. You had to so so the secretary for the mother baby had to buzz in for mother baby, NICU, and PICU. So that's why it was just so much traffic coming in and out. I didn't like that because it's all these babies. But that was just me. It was just too many people. It was a high traffic for a maternity because they had those 3 units all together. And so even though there were supposed to be secretaries in like the PICU really never really had a secretary. It should have been 3 secretaries, but I think the one that mainly always had a secretary they tried to was mother baby, because you gotta have somebody to buzz all these people in. It was just too many people. I just didn't like that. Um, and the reason why, and especially with that camera, the way the camera was, and it was just too many people, and you couldn't really see the people's face. We had a guy. He worked. I'm sorry. We had a guy. He was so when I worked on the main floor, we had a patient who was a pervert. And when I say pervert, I mean pervert. Like this dude was like none of the female nurses could go in. None of the female nurses could be his nurse, okay? Because he was just touchy feely, just totally inappropriate, a pervert. So he always had to have a male nurse or like a male CNA, but he was a pervert, and so he either had to have a male nurse or a male CNA. Like this dude was perverted, and one day, and when I say perverted, I'm telling you, because the nurse's station, the side that I sat on, because the main floor had 2 secretaries, and the side that I sat on, they put him in the room literally across from the nurse's station. And because they didn't want no nurse to be down the hallway with him, and then something happened and we don't hear. So they put him in the room right across, and he was always at the door. And this dude literally would have on Daisy Dukes. Okay, he had on Daisy Dukes. It was a big dude too. He was big, and he had on Daisy Dukes. And then he would sit at the door, and he would turn the chair around. So like how you supposed to sit in a chair regular. He would turn it around and then crack his legs wide open, so you would see his nuts, okay, and his balls and all that. And so some kind of way he got on the mother baby unit. He I don't know if he followed somebody in or what, because I'm telling you, those cameras were horrible. It was like I just did not. The angle was just the camera was on the wrong side. It should be on the same side as the phone, because like when you're talking on the phone, you're turning to talk on the phone to let them know, so you really can't see the person. But he got on that unit and he was walking around. He was walking around the mother baby unit, PICU, always. He was walking all around that unit, and then that's when they got security to come sit outside his room. So then he couldn't leave the room because he was walking like he was on the ortho floor. He had been all over the hospital. But when he got down there, that's when they called security. And then after that, security sat outside his room. So he couldn't leave his room. But when he was feeling all on the nurses and touchy feely and yeah. Okay, but when he was down there, because he was perverted. Okay, when I tell you that man was perverted, he was perverted. But so you will more than likely have to buzz people in. Look, I strongly encourage that if they have cameras and you really can't see the people, that you speak up, especially if you work on that unit. And then you will also have women who You will have, yeah, you will have women, mothers who are drug addicted, um, might have HIV, might have whatever. Babies are born with drugs in their system, HIV, things like that. Now, you may not know about the HIV. You may not. Well, I do remember some women being HIV. That was there. Um, but I assume a baby can be born if they got, I guess, if they got correct prenatal, the baby won't necessarily be born with HIV. I don't know, but yeah, usually the women, the mothers with HIV, that was kind of known because that was like right there in the chart. But you will have women who are addicted to drugs. Now they got to get, family services involved. You will see that. Okay. You will see that. You will see that a lot. You will see women who don't care. They, just had baby 3 hours ago and they already outside smoking a cigarette. Like I'll be like, how? Okay. Like they need it, they need a cigarette. You will see that. So don't think it's like every woman down there is like, oh, my baby. That don't think that. I mean, yeah, you'll see the little babies roll by, um, but don't think that every woman has that in them, or that every child may be going home to a loving environment or a safe environment. But you will see social services involved, especially if that baby's born with drugs and in their system. So you will see that. Of course, you will see, the families, their brothers, little brothers or sisters, little kids, and that's the new baby. You will see that. Um, so there are a lot of things you will see. We never had a cold pink, which is like a baby being kidnapped. I don't think we ever had one. Not, I don't think so. If they did, I wasn't there that day. Um, I don't remember a cold pink. And I think most places call it a cold pink when a baby is missing. I don't think we ever had one. I don't even think we even had a false alarm. Now, one time I did think we had one because we had got off work and it was like 7:30 in the evening. I go down the stairs and go down the hallway, and the stairs are like right by the mother baby. That's where you come in, and then you walk all the way down the hallway, past lab, past labor and delivery, and I saw the not the house supervisor, the one that always had me do everything all around the hospital. I saw her. No, 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 no. It wasn't her. It was the other one. Saw her. Maybe security. Maybe like one in administration because they were been gone. Administration was been gone. And I saw that. I was like, and they were right outside the mother baby. I was like, Lord Jesus, a baby don't been kidnapped, but they ain't called it. They ain't called it yet. So I get out to the car and I call the secretary on night shift. I said, girl, they blah 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 and blah blah blah. They down there by maternity, girl. I think a baby been kidnapped. Because they was like right outside the door. Cause that was weird. Administration would have been gone. Yeah. Come to find out, somebody had mixed the wrong thing because when you came down the stairs and mother baby, the lab, and then labor and delivery. Somebody had mixed something together and or tried to mix something together. Come to find out, somebody don't mix this and that together and created damn near a bomb in the lab. Okay. So here I am thinking a baby don't been kidnapped and they ain't called it because they trying to cover shit up. And they don't mix something in the lab, don't create it a damn near bomb. So they had to call. I guess they were calling the fire department. So because nobody was out there when I got there, all I saw was the administration, house supervisor, and somebody else. And then my friend, she told me the next day that they had to call like the fire department, police, whatever. And then I guess when they did whatever they did, the building shook because it was like a mini bomb they created. Yeah, they mixing stuff together. Got me thinking the baby done been kidnapped, and it's that. So, um, so I was like, oh, I probably would have passed out. That building shook. Matter of fact, I would have been out the building because you know how hospitals are, keep everything hush hush. I was like, how? I said, oh my god, the baby been kidnapped or missing, and they trying to cover it up. They need to call that because it was like on a weekend. It was a weekend too, and because it was, I still remember that night. And it was a weekend with nothing going on, real quiet, and I was like, oh no, a baby's been kidnapped. I don't think we ever had a cold pink. The only other thing that happened down there, because um, I guess, a baby was born with drugs in the system or something like that, and the social services were there, and I guess they was like, you ain't taking my baby. The daddy was like, you ain't taking my baby. And then they had to call the police, and the police came, and then I guess they had to drop him on his head. I guess the daddy was fighting because they didn't want social service to take the baby. Drop him on his head, bust his head open. Matter of fact, I think he had a gun. I think the guy had a gun, and so the police dropped him on his head, and then they were calling overhead. We need an emergency like surgeon, like we need all surgeons because now they got to rush him to the hospital. I mean, not the hospital, the OR, because because he had a gun. The police had to put him down. He fell, bust his head open, and now they need to get him in surgery, like stat. I was like, oh my goodness. But he the reason why we got that incident is the reason why we got panic buttons in the hospital because of what happened on the maternity floor, on the mother baby floor. So I just did not like working on that floor, y'all, because I did not like that camera. I didn't like it was just too many people in there coming in and out. Yes, they knew what room they were going to. Yes, they knew what patient they were going to see. But still, it was just too much going on, especially with these new babies. I just did not like working on that floor. And then after a while, I never got floated down there. Well, once I went to the ICU, see, then I was still working on the main floor. But once I got floated to the ICU, then I got sent to like all the ICUs. I floated to all the ICUs, the NICU, the PICU, main ICU, all them ICUs. I never really went back down there. I never floated back down there once I went to the ICU. Just always, well, I did like not mother baby, but PICU, NICU. But yeah, that incident is the reason why we got panic buttons because of what happened down there. He had a gun because he knew they were gonna come get that baby. That baby was born with some drugs or whatever was going on in that house. It's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. I just because the little baby ain't asked for all that, and you don't know what this baby about to go home to, how this baby about to be raised. You will see stuff like that. And then as far as like putting labs in and putting tests in, it's just like working on any floor. It's just that each unit has their certain um, orders, medications, ways that they do things. So like ortho floor, you more than likely make consents for amputations or uh, just like all kinds of stuff like that that has to do with your bones and your leg and arm and fractures and stuff. You'll print consents for that. Whereas if you work in the heart hospital, cardiovascular, any type of cardiac unit, you dealing more with the heart. You'll make more consents for um, heart surgery, things like that. And that's the same thing with labs. If you're on one floor, you'll order a lot of labs for this particular test. But then if you work on another floor, you'll order all day, every day, this particular lab test. Same thing with procedures, X-rays. It's just they medications. You'll become very familiar with a medication. You be like, oh, that's for you be somewhere, and you be like, oh, that's for blah blah blah. You like, damn, how I know that? Because you see it every day. You see it every day. But if somebody else, if you were to ask me, I couldn't tell you. But you see it every day. So each unit is different, but the specifics are different, but the overall everything is the same. You admit patients, you discharge, except on the mother baby, you admit two patients and you discharge two patients, unless the baby's not being discharged because of being premature or something like that, and they go to pick you. I'm sorry, not pick you, nick you. So yeah, I hope I answered your questions. It's just, I had my bias. You might love it. Now, I did talk about in the other video about working in the PICU and the NICU, how they interacted with the babies. Like the secretary will hold babies, especially babies in the NICU, because they got whatever going on with them. So babies need to be held. And but I don't know about newborns. I don't think I ever really saw a secretary holding a newborn baby. Like, I don't think I really saw that. I think it was more the babies in NICU that I saw the secretary holding. And they even told me I can hold the baby. I was like, no, thank you. But you see a lot now. If you love babies. They the cutest thing, even the little ugly ones. Hey, that'll be for you. But I don't know. I'm just not that type. I am just not that type. I'm a I'm a different type of beast. I mean, I can do it, but it's just too much going on. I guess I feel so bad for the babies because I see so much stuff. I pay attention to a lot of stuff. I pay attention to a lot of stuff. I pick up on a lot of stuff. So I feel bad for the babies. The mama should be in there holding the baby, kissing on the baby, loving on the baby, and she out there getting on her cigarette break. I don't know. And then the baby's going home to the homeless, you know, you know. But it is what it is. I did. I even rode a few patients out to the car, like when they were discharged. I rode a few out because I guess the CNAs were busy, and I left that floor. I don't know who. I don't know. Or maybe it was when I was in NICU. Maybe when I was in NICU, I rode them. Yeah, because I know it wouldn't. I know it couldn't have been mother baby. It had to been. It had to be NICU when the baby was going to be finally being discharged. And that's a whole nother beast right there. Golly, that NICU is just something else. I just can't do little babies. But everybody has a niche. Everybody has a niche. It's like people who love geriatric patients, or people who love, I don't say love, but people who can deal better with hospice patients. Like, I thought about getting a job. I even interviewed. I'm sorry. I even applied for a hospice out, and I waited for a long time to apply because I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And my mom was like, hospice? Because my mom was like, she couldn't do it. My mom's a nurse. For y'all that don't know, my mom's a nurse, and she's like, hospice. She's like, I couldn't do hospice. I was like, I think I can do hospice because I'm just like that. I don't want to say, but then again, a part of me, no, I can. But then a part of me is like, I don't like death. Because, like, well, let me take that. Well, I don't like death. But hearing the families cry, so like in the ICU, when I hear the family crying because, mama died, daddy died, that bothers me. So I always got to get up and go somewhere because that bothers me. So that's why I waited a long. That's why I was debating on if I should apply for hospice. 'Cause I think I can do it from working in the ICU, but that bothers me because that's what it is death every day. So, but everyone has their liking. Like I said, I worked everywhere. Anything with little babies I just couldn't do because they were just so small. they're just too small. And I like the main floor, but the main floor got too much drama. Um, I like um, the cardiac, it was all right, but the ICU was just like that. That was me. That was me. So hopefully, when you start working on the mother baby maternity, that'll be you. And if it isn't, then maybe NICU. And if not, maybe PICU. And if not, another floor. I think we all have our preference. And once we find out what our preference is, then we'll be a much better secretary. ICU was it for me, and I loved it. But maternity is something else. You see all them little babies fresh out the oven. So if you have any questions, you can put them below. You can also follow me on my blog. It's Jamie Reed Booklist. That's where I talk about being the unit secretary. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.